Hero is a very unique anime, as it tells the story of a handsome toilet seat salesman who one day is the only guy in the entire world taking a shit, which causes him to be transformed into a fat superhero who has to defend the Earth as well as his daughter. This anime was made in both China and Japan and features 12 episodes and was made in 2018. As I'm sure you can tell from the entire premise of the anime, that this anime is a comedy. Most of its events are done for the purpose of making jokes. However, this anime is not like a lot of other comedies in that its final episode is really sentimental and very complex. I personally think it's complex enough for us that I should take it seriously and should try to decode what actually happened in it, so that way everyone could come to a full understanding of what really happened. So, since I'll be talking about the final episode in this video, I highly suggest you go click off and watch this anime before returning. Trust me, you won't regret it. It really is a good experience. So you're still here? Well, let's get right into this then. In order to explain the final episode though, I'm going to have to explain the episodes leading up to it. This is all going to start in episode 9, where there's a clear tone shift in the anime from like goofy comedy to more serious stuff. Episode 9 features the oldest brother, who is the eldest of the aliens that are coming to invade. He has the ability to disguise and use illusions on himself and on other objects, and he uses these illusions to disguise himself as the main character. Using this power, he also disguises a bunch of food to make it look really nice, and he tricks the main character into thinking he is this universe's him. This causes the main character to get super depressed and want to go home, but the middle brother, who is, our bro, he learns that the fake main character, the eldest brother, isn't from this world because he can't control his shit. I know, quite strange, but his inability to control his eldest brother's shit reveals to both the main character and him that he can't be from Earth. While the main character and the middle son are trying to figure out why this non-Earthling is even here, the eldest brother is working on a vodka that would give everyone who drinks it uber depression. However, in his own stupidity, he drinks it himself, and then everyone in the room drinks it, except Min-chan. While everyone in the main room is uber depressed, Min-chan looks over a bunch of old photos of her and her father. She begins to remember about her past and eventually finds a storybook, which is pretty important for the plot later. Min-chan returns to the room of uber-depressed people and quickly figures out an interesting plot development. The storybook she's found shows pictures of every single person that's currently in the room. Also, while she's talking with her father, she finds out that the fat loaf in front of her is actually her father. However, this great reunion is quickly interrupted by the Lord of Darkness. After he arrives, Min-chan begins to have some flashbacks to when she was younger. We get to learn a lot more about her father and really what type of person he is, and it's shown to pretty much be that he is far nicer than the show has currently led us to believe. He seems to be someone that genuinely cares about his family, which is really not the vibes we've been getting for the last 9 episodes. However, I will note this was a nice change of pace and is going to be extremely important as we move into the final scenes of the last episode. With a short flashback, Min-chan is the first person to try to fight the big bad, and let's just say it doesn't go that well for her. It's important to note here that this is the first time that Min-chan loses a fist fight. In the entire show so far, she's done nothing but annihilate everyone who's tried to fight her, and her easily being overwhelmed by the pure embodiment of evil is not a good sight and is very foretelling for what scenes are about to come. As soon as Min-chan is defeated, she begins going into a flashback. This is a flashback of when she was far younger and she had an allergic reaction to something. Her dad gave up an important business meeting in order to make sure that she was okay. This is an important flashback, and the show is going to build on this later, so make sure you keep this scene in mind, as it's one of the most pivotal moments in really the backstory of these characters. Following this backstory, Moe tries to reason with his father, but this doesn't work very well. His father just beats the shit out of him. And from here, we move into the final battle, as all the main characters are going to try their best to at least dent or defeat the final boss. Thus, we have reached episode 10. Episode 10 starts off with our main character finally awakening, and he's ready to kick some ass, or so he thinks. He will give a somewhat dramatic speech, but as he tries to hit our big bad with a nice, well-placed sandal hit, it is completely ineffective. However, when the big boss returns the shot, let's say it is a little bit more than effective. Thus, with the evil emperor unable to be damaged by the main character, the rest of our supporting cast is going to do their best to do something. This is going to really start with your boy Yamada, the great neighbor-san. He's going to try to use his data link powers to do some damage, and he's going to get some help from the middle son, both of which honestly aren't really going to have much success and are quickly going to be blown away by the evil emperor. After their death, the main character gets uber depressed, and he kind of just wants to blame it all on himself. However, he's going to get some final last moment, spark of inspiration when Min-chan is going to try to, motivate him to fight one more time, but gets erased right before his eyes by the evil emperor. It is here in the conclusion of the final episode that we're going to get a lot of confusion. First things first, we're finally going to get to read the book that Min-chan has been walking around with, and it's basically revealed to us by the main character that this was a book he wrote for her way back in the day. This book basically explained to her how to handle all of her greatest fears, and we learned that her greatest fears so far have been all of the enemies that the main character killed. The cockroaches, the shrimps, everything ranging from the car, all of those were just things she was afraid of as a child. Well, rather, less afraid of, but things she didn't like especially with the car. From the retelling of the storybook that we learn what the evil emperor is based off. It's a more arrogant, selfish version of her father, which is why he's immune to the father's power and is seemingly so powerful. But I'll get back to that later. The father continues his fight with the evil emperor, and it seems like they are close to a stalemate. They exchange a final equal blow, and we actually don't know how the fight resolves. It then cuts to a scene of a hospital, with Min-chan rushing her dad to the hospital, as he apparently passed out due to overexhaustion. It is here that we learn a shit ton of backstory extremely quickly. Everything ranging from why he's passed out, which is because apparently he was taking on so many jobs to try to, shoulder the amount of money they needed. We also learned that apparently he lost his job way back because when he went to go help Min-chan with her allergies, he missed out on a presentation and lost his entire life's work. All this is a lot to handle for a last episode, but those are the most important parts. What you really need to take away from this is that he wasn't really selfish as much as he was doing it all for his daughter. As we learn the truth about Min-chan's father and how selfless he is, we also have interplayed scenes of him finally defeating the enemy within him, or the big bad emperor. This enemy represents everything that Min-chan hates about him, and him fighting it both figuratively and literally at the same time, as we're seeing things that prove that vision false, while we're also seeing him beat the shit out of the vision, is poetic enough form. However, this ending doesn't really give us all of the answers we need. I don't really need to continue to summarize, as this will be the continued events of the rest of the episode. Just Min-chan's having backflashes and him fighting the alter ego of himself. The only thing that really changes this formula is at the very, very end in the post-credit scene. It is here that we get the one thing that makes everything 10 times more fucking confusing. So, this end credit scene would be fine if there wasn't the data link. The data link seems to suggest that yes, everything actually happened in the series, and that this whole get out of jail free card with the coma and him being nice don't actually work, and we were just playing a big haha. Now, to clarify what the 3 possible endings are, we have one, the ending where he beats the big bad, but his entire friend and everyone he loves is dead, which is the ending we are shown at the end of his fight with his internal self known as Pride. 2, the coma ending, which makes the most sense to most people. And 3, the ending shown at the very end of the credits, which everyone is alive, it all legitimately happened, there was no coma. Yeah. So let's start unpacking these. So starting with the ending that makes the least amount of sense in my opinion, we have the ending where he beats up the final boss, but then everyone he loves is dead and he's left alone in the universe. Why does this one make no sense? Well, let's look at the end credit scene. If we're going to consider the strange reality that was the majority of this series to be fact and what actually happened, then we can't ignore the final couple minutes where a lot of these strange elements return, such as the data link and the toilet seat society. Both of them address something called the multiverse. If this multiverse is to be taken as factual, then here's what most likely happened. 1. The universe that our main character is from resulted in the way that it ended. Everybody's dead except the main character. However, the main character most likely would have been teleported by the Toilet Paper Society to a reality where nobody died. A reality where he just won. Why? Because the Toilet Paper Society basically in the end says it has the ability to do this. I mean, well, yes, there's a whole lot of jokes in the finale with everyone like, oh, can I get my Oscar? If we just look at the hard facts that the society is saying, they're basically saying, hey, this is a multiverse. In one multiverse, you lost. In the other one, you didn't. You're in the other multiverse now. And if we accept that as fact, then moving into the final ending gets a little bit more interesting. The final ending supports a timeline where this was all inside of his coma. Now, if anyone's ever seen To Be Heroine or watched the Chinese version of this anime, both suggest that's the canon ending. However, I would like to argue that this ending has some holes in it. Now, for the sake of time, because I spent so much time summarizing, I'm actually not going to explain the holes in the multiverse theory, because it's really hard to say, well, no, there can't be a multiverse, because anything can have a multiverse. Multiverses, and it was all a dream theories, are very easy to do, because it's very hard to concrete say, well, you're wrong. Because all they can go is, well, in my multiverse, X, Y, and Z happened, and you can't prove it didn't happen, because there's nothing in the show that doesn't prove. You guys are getting my point, I hope. What I'm saying is I'm not going to disprove the credits or the boss fight scenes. If you believe that's what actually happened, then I can't stop you. I personally don't believe that. However, the coma ending, which is the one I do believe in, does have some plot holes, and I'm going to quickly address them. Starting off with the biggest and obvious one to me, the intro scene of the anime. In the intro of the anime, it seems very clear that Min-chan's father is still in his original form, meaning he hasn't entered the coma, and he's still kicking it the normal way. If we accept this, then it doesn't make sense for him to be, just at a strip club. Based on the description we're given by Mr. Yamashi at the end, he just wasn't that type of guy. He apparently did everything for his family and worked 8-9 jobs for his family. So why is he at a strip club? It really doesn't add up. And I'm sure someone's going to go, well, maybe he was just there once. Well, based off the dialogue we get from Min-chan, no, he seemed to go there every night. And it doesn't seem like he's really selling anything either. Most of his dialogue in the first episode is not aimed at, can I buy you a toilet seat, as much as it's aimed at, you're hot. This scene is arguably, in my opinion, the strongest counter to it was all a coma, because this scene just doesn't make sense character-wise. We're going to move into another scene that doesn't make sense character-wise, if really this is all a coma, is both him and Min-chan's portrayals. He might be a bit more understandable if it's his dream, him being fat and all that, but really the other brothers and how he imagined them are weird. We know Moe Moe, that middle brother, is the only only boyfriend of Min-chan. At least that's what To Be Heroine tells us. If this is the fact, then who are the other brothers? Why are they even in here? Some have said and theorized that they represent other things he fears, for the oldest brother being him being replaced, but that actually makes this theory even weaker. If the oldest brother represents his fear of being replaced, then don't you think if he really was afraid of being replaced, right? And then he realizes, wait, I worked 9 jobs for Min-chan to make sure that she stays afloat. Maybe he wouldn't get jealous. Maybe he would just go, well, I do it my way, he does it his way. And yes, the older brother's version of him is far more tidy and makes far better food, but I highly doubt an MC who works 9 jobs for his daughter would that easily give up on her, as we see him do in episode 9. Of course, you can disagree with me, but there's a little bit more. Min-chan. If we accept that this is the coma theory, and that this is a story being told by Min-chan to her father, and her father is hearing parts of the story and it's influencing his dreams, Min-chan's actions don't make sense at all. 90% of what she does doesn't make sense from the perspective of either of them. To review some of the actions that don't make sense, the entire nozzle scene where her faucet broke and he had to come in and fix it, well, maybe it could have been in the storybook and maybe the father would have dreamed about it this way. Realistically, no. The father might have thought about, well, my faucet's broke, I feel bad about that, but Min-chan's entire dialogue during it doesn't seem like how he imagined her, and definitely doesn't seem like how Min-chan imagines herself. Min-chan's actions, when she discovers the book, all the way up to her fight with the big bad boss, are much in the same way falling issue to this problem. I highly doubt the main character would have Min-chan be viewed as so bumbling and ununderstanding. She seems to be figuring out the truth of this world on her own, which, if Min-chan's telling the story, doesn't make sense at all, and if he's the one telling the story, the way she figures it out also doesn't make sense. Keep in mind, Min-chan learns the truth about the book before the main character does. If the main character is the one telling the story, then I doubt this extra plot point would be needed, and if Min-chan's the one telling the story, then this extra plot point flat out makes no sense. Now, I know someone's going to go, but Christopher, you're trying to attack 2 different theories at once, and as of such, you're weakening your counteroffensive, which is a fair statement. Trying to attack the fact that Min-chan's telling the story and the fact that he's the one imagining it at the same time is pretty hard. However, if you notice the fact that there's obvious weaknesses in both of them, it becomes kind of hard to accept that this was the story the whole time. And here's where I come to my conclusion. The whole reason I made this video in the first place. I think it's painfully obvious that really this wasn't the end plan in the first place. And that's fine. This was a comedy anime. I highly doubt anyone sat on their butt in the beginning of writing and goes, this is how this is going to end. They probably were like, how many stupid toilet seat jokes can I fit in the anime? And there's nothing wrong with that. However, because of the fact it doesn't seem like they planned it from start to finish, and really weren't ready when the ending came around, we get some serious plot holes when we come to the obvious canon conclusion of it was all just a coma. These plot holes are made worse by the concluding statement of the anime, the whole after the caption scene, and is made even worse when you consider the fact that To Be Heroine is supposed to be picking up the plot points from this anime. Personally, I think it should have been done this way. End the anime with the scene of the father waking up and on the toilet. Here, if you do it this way, and I know maybe I'm being a little bit of an extra bit of a critique here, it would firmly confirm that this was just a coma. And the funny haha ending wouldn't really be needed because you would have told the story you wanted to tell. A story of a dad who really loves his daughter. Adding the extra credit scene just makes it for more gray and makes it so people can't really understand what you wanted to say and opens up the question for, did the coma even happen? Now, I think I've proven enough evidence that the coma really did happen, especially when you consider things such as the big bad boss is legitimately just an opposite version of the main character, and the storybook, and so much more. But I think clarity would have been the better option here. And you might disagree with me, you might agree with me. I don't know what you guys are going to think. I will say this is my first time making a video on an anime. I'm normally a theorist when it comes to video games. Video games are a lot easier to theorize around, and I know the next time I theorize around an anime, I'm going to spend a whole lot more time script writing, because this video was very hard to make. I'll appreciate any feedback you guys can give, and any likes and any of it. I really do appreciate it. I hope you guys all enjoyed this video, and this has been Christopher Beast. Till I see you next time.